What do you think of them?
This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on.
That is so beautiful.
No.
They're ridiculous.
Meghan Markle Googled, is the race card an actual card?
You're complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
It's ridiculous.
What if the most carefully curated, authentic moment of the year was nothing more than a well-rehearsed performance? Meghan Markle recently appeared on a podcast pitched as raw, makeup-free, and unfiltered, just a duchess being her true self. But the internet wasn't buying it. In fact, what was supposed to be a heartfelt, vulnerable appearance might have just shattered what little trust the public still had in her image.
I love your Luke.
Sorry, what's that?
Your Luke. You look amazing. Your Luke.
My Luke. My
Luke. My
Yes.
look. She likes my Luke.
Critics didn't hesitate. Within hours of the podcast going live, social media erupted. Words like manipulative, staged, and another PR stunt dominated the comment sections. It's not just backlash. It's a growing wave of distrust. The same audience that once rooted for Meghan as a symbol of breaking royal tradition is now questioning whether everything she presents is carefully scripted, down to the last tier. And this podcast, it didn't help.
Your voice is driving me crazy, and I'm about to jump over there and put my fists down your throat.
She's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout. Like she's completely camera ready. And she also is pretending that she's crying. There isn't a tear in sight. It's an actor's trick.
If anything, it might have cracked the carefully polished image she spent years building. From the suspiciously perfect no makeup look, to overly dramatic tales of motherhood, to her infamous gift basket signed with Her Royal Highness, this wasn't vulnerability. This was branding. High gloss, tightly controlled, and dangerously close to falling apart. But the backlash was just beginning. Meghan's big return to the spotlight was supposed to feel intimate. No makeup, cozy clothes, a casual vibe. Just two women talking from the heart. But viewers quickly noticed something was off. Meghan may have claimed authenticity, but everything about the setup screamed calculated. Her hair? Professionally blown out? Skin? Flawless and glowing. Lighting? Soft and magazine. Perfect. Even her expressions, down to the misty eyes and trembling voice, felt too polished to be raw.
I've never seen someone that struggles to just give us like one strip of authenticity.
I think the woke have been asleep.
Oh my gosh, I work so hard.
You're complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
It's ridiculous.
The moment she leaned into tears with zero smudge, no redness, and certainly no actual tears, audiences raised eyebrows. A clip of Meghan from her Suits promo days resurfaced online, where she bragged about being able to cry on cue. Left eye, one tap, perfect timing. Watching her now, it's hard not to think back to that. Were those emotions real, or was this just another performance? And then came the title on her gift basket, visible for a split second during the show.
This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on. Thank you. Yeah.
That is so beautiful.
No.
Her Royal Highness, a title she technically gave up when she stepped away from the royal family. Yet here it was, stamped on a basket of strawberry sauce and homemade jam, intended for a friend, but broadcast to millions. That subtle flex didn't go unnoticed. People weren't touched. They were cringing. Why sign a casual gift like you're still wearing a crown? This wasn't a woman letting her guard down. This was someone meticulously building a brand of relatable royalty. And the seams were starting to show. But what came next would stir even deeper doubts about her intentions. From the moment Meghan began recounting her daily routines, emailing her kids every night, juggling school drop-offs, struggling through exhausting workdays, you could almost hear the violins playing in the background. But instead of admiration, the internet collectively rolled its eyes. She framed these moments as if they were monumental hardships, a behind-the-scenes glimpse into the chaos of a working mom. But the details betrayed the drama.
Jamie Kern-Lima, who seems to be even more fake and insufferable than the Duchess.
Both of them did come across like they haven't actually, been in touch with maybe someone who's worried about the price of eggs.
2 kids at 2 elite schools, a live-in nanny, a flexible schedule filled with personal branding work. The struggle? It sounded more like a curated lifestyle blog post than a cry for understanding. And then there were the nightly emails to her toddlers. Thousands of them. She claims she writes one every night so they can read them when they're older. Sweet in theory, but critics weren't sold. Who's that really for, the kids or the public? Social media dubbed it emotional marketing, not maternal devotion. One user even joked, Archie's first inbox will need a spam filter. This wasn't just about Meghan being emotional. It was about reinforcing a character. The tireless mother, the underappreciated woman, the misunderstood duchess. But every line, every anecdote, every pause felt like it was building a narrative rather than revealing the truth. And that's the problem. When everything feels like a strategy, nothing feels real.
Very first question, because I think in friendship it's so important. And I think so many people also have this question for you is, Meghan, how are you? And are you okay?
That's so kind.
Yes, it really is that awful. I may have blacked out from smacking myself in the head.
And this calculated vulnerability wasn't just emotional, it was commercial. Not long after Meghan's podcast dropped, her lifestyle products went live. And within 30 minutes, everything was sold out. But here's the twist. Insiders claim the stock was so limited that selling out wasn't exactly a feat. In fact, it was more of a marketing trick. Scarcity creates buzz, right? It makes her brand look in demand, exclusive, and wildly successful, even if barely anyone actually received their order. Customers began flooding forums and social media, saying their purchases hadn't arrived weeks after payment. Others questioned if the products ever existed in real quantity at all. Was this really about sharing joy through jam and honey? Or was it just about driving a narrative of success for her next investor pitch?
Dan, when you do interviews on your show, do you do the Jamie Kern-Lima reactions? Yes. Oh my God, there's something wrong with her.
This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on.
That is so beautiful.
No.
Critics saw a pattern. Meghan's Spotify deal? Terminated. Her Netflix content? Underperforming. Now a lifestyle brand built on vague wellness and performative domesticity. Homemade sauces? Handwritten cards? Cupcakes? None of which feel authentic coming from someone whose public image is more boardroom than bake sale. She's trying to be the mom next door while living in a $14 million mansion in Montecito with a security team and full-time help. And to cap it off, she signed these jars of jam Her Royal Highness again, a title she no longer holds but refuses to let go of. The message? She's still royalty. At least when it comes to branding. But Meghan wasn't alone in this stage-managed spectacle. Her podcast host raised some flags too. If Meghan was the star of the show, then Jamie Kern-Lima was the ultimate hype woman. The podcast host, billionaire entrepreneur, former reality TV contestant, and now a wannabe Oprah, did everything short of rolling out a red carpet during their chat. From the moment she asked Meghan, "Are you okay?" with breathy, emotional intensity, it felt less like an interview and more like a 1-hour infomercial for the Meghan brand.
Work so hard. The moment that everything sells out, it doesn't mean that we're done. It means we're working on replenishment and what are the next SKUs and what's the next tranche of products and what's the timing on that and writing the newsletters and writing the social media captions and making sure that all that feels in line and what's the cadence of it. And
in this interview, she really goes on these tangents of talking about how stressful her day is. And when I was listening to it, I was thinking, no, that sounds like a normal day to me, Meghan.
Critics noticed. Hard. They said Jamie wasn't just soft. She was fawning, parroting Meghan's emotions, nodding through every line like a carefully briefed cheerleader. The term yes woman was thrown around relentlessly. Even respected outlets like The Independent described the whole vibe as forced and sycophantic. The audience didn't hear hard questions or real insights. They heard staged empathy wrapped in billion-dollar packaging. And that raised even more suspicion. If Meghan really wanted to be vulnerable, why not pick a host who'd push back a little? Someone neutral, or at least less obviously invested in her image. Instead, we got exaggerated reactions, tearless crying, and affirmations so sugary they could rot your teeth. The partnership felt orchestrated, 2 women selling empowerment, but neither seemed remotely connected to everyday struggles. As one user put it, these two haven't bought their own groceries in years, but want to preach about authenticity? But even outside the podcast, Meghan's public appearances were igniting criticism. Just when the podcast firestorm started to cool, Meghan Markle walked into another headline storm, this time at the Time 100 Summit. She didn't make the actual list of Time's most influential people, but she still showed up as a guest, sparking immediate backlash. Critics online weren't subtle.
Flopped. It flopped really hard despite Spotify trying to push it, and they realized that these two don't really want to work, okay?
Happened to Spotify. The critics were horrible about With Love, Meghan. You sold inventory that you didn't have on asever.com. People are still waiting for their refund.
So when she's trying to sell these kind of, I'm sorry, but crappy, cheap tats to middle America, she needs to have this relatability, and she doesn't have that at all.
She's not there because of merit. Her agency probably bought the seat. And honestly, the way she handled that stage did nothing to silence the skeptics. Meghan gave a speech that quickly went viral, not for insight or impact, but for how bizarrely detached it sounded. Talking about sprinkling dried flower petals on eggs and salads to elevate, the experience left viewers baffled. Many called it word salad, a mix of poetic fluff with zero substance. "I can't wrap my head around the joy people feel from flower petals," she mused, while the internet stared in disbelief. It felt like satire, except it wasn't. People weren't just confused, they were frustrated. Here was a woman once seen as a voice for change, now rambling about garnish while her brand was reportedly falling apart behind the scenes. Out of touch became the theme of the week. X-users called her inclusion at the event absurd, pointing out that selling jam and honey isn't exactly world-changing. And while Meghan claimed to speak for the everyday woman, her words echoed from a velvet-wrapped bubble. Instead of rebuilding credibility, she doubled down on image, and it was starting to look more like parody than power. But as Meghan fumbled with public image, Harry wasn't far behind, with his own PR disaster brewing. While Meghan was busy talking flower petals and cupcakes, Prince Harry was stirring up his own storm, this time with a tone-deaf interview on the BBC. The timing couldn't have been worse. His father, King Charles, was battling cancer, and instead of rallying behind his family, Harry used the moment to resurrect an old fight, demanding the British government pay for his security during UK visits. Public opinion? Brutal. The outrage wasn't just about money, it was about how he framed it. Harry argued that if anything were to happen to him, Meghan, or their children, the blame would fall on his father. He even referred to his kids as "my father's grandchildren," which many saw as emotional blackmail wrapped in royal guilt. The phrase, gaslighting on a royal scale, trended for a reason. British media didn't hold back either. The Daily Mail called his tone self-pitying. ITV quoted palace insiders who found his remarks distasteful, and the Mirror revealed that King Charles had grown wary of private conversations being leaked again. At a time when the monarchy needed unity, Harry delivered a guilt trip on international television. And what made it all worse? The sense that both Meghan and Harry were trying to keep one foot in the royal world while cashing in outside it. Meghan still using her Royal Highness, Harry demanding royal perks. They wanted the crown without the crown's responsibilities. And with each move, the public grew more certain. This wasn't just a couple trying to live in peace. This was a carefully crafted campaign. But when the campaign starts to crumble, the real question becomes, was it ever about truth or just brand control? At this point, the Meghan and Harry saga doesn't feel like a royal rebellion anymore. It feels like a slow-motion brand implosion. Every public appearance, every podcast, every headline seems to circle back to one core question. Is this really about authenticity? Or has it always been about building the most lucrative personal brand on earth? From jam jars signed with outdated royal titles to teary interviews with no actual tears, the line between truth and performance has all but vanished. Meghan positions herself as a modern, relatable woman. Harry plays the role of wounded prince-turned-activist. But when everything feels calculated, down to the flower petals and bedtime emails, audiences can't help but feel manipulated. Supporters still argue they're misunderstood, hunted by the press, and just trying to live free. But critics are louder now. They see a power couple exploiting pain, spinning trauma into product lines, and monetizing royal connections long after cutting ties. And the strategy might be backfiring. Failed deals, falling credibility, and a growing wave of public fatigue are reshaping their image fast. In the end, this isn't just about one podcast or one interview. It's about a shift in how the world sees Meghan and Harry. Once symbols of rebellion and freedom, they're now being viewed as emblematic of everything people distrust. Curated vulnerability, endless self-promotion, and selling struggle as a lifestyle. But what do you think? Are Meghan and Harry victims of a cynical media machine, or architects of their own downfall? Let me know in the comments. And if you're ready for more unfiltered stories the press won't tell you, hit that like button and stick around. We're just getting started.